So, even before I've started, like, truly editing this, I've gone through, like, the first chapter of On Fire here. Today's topic. I've never watched Teen Wolf, okay? I recently got into Wolfpack, and the TV show is, like, based on the same person who created Teen Wolf. Again, I have not watched it. I'm past the first chapter to where I can highly say there's something wrong here. I'm too excited to start talking about the first episode here because I will also talk about what I do later on, because I'm not looking at a script. I'm going on my own, because normally that's not, beforehand I was. Now I'm not. This first chapter has so much missing information from, like, what was supposed to be in this first, like, episodes. Like, really? In front of my mac and cheese, you're gonna do this to me? I severely think that there were supposed to be other books of this series published, because I found out that this takes place between volumes 1 and 3. 1 and 3 of what, you may ask? Oh, of the TV show. Because it kind of starts out maybe season 1, then suddenly it may be season 2, because there's 2 characters in here that are friends with one of these other characters that, like, we're supposed to either know or have seen a couple of times by this point, but we don't. I will say this right now. This is probably the worst book I've ever read. And I read Saintsville. I read The Mermaid Princess. Meh. I have all my notes here on my computer that I will read. Oh my gosh. How many pages is this? Because this is a short book. This is like 245 pages. Oh great, my Google Doc is not loading, so I guess we'll never figure out. Dear Lord. Okay. My main problem with this is we jump around too much. It's 5 pages if you wanted to know. We jump around so many times with this book series. And by God, does Scott only want to get into Allison's pants. And the backstory with her stuff makes sense. But it's also like, I don't know about Styles besides he's best friend. I know nothing about Derek until later on. We don't know really much about Scott. We do, but we don't. Jackson, we don't know shit about. It's just, as I was reading this, because it's a whole thing too. I will also add this in here too. At page 180, this is like for a scene later on. But if you notice here, it changes to being like this 1, 2, 3 instead of this diagram. And I don't know why that is. Also, after certain chapters too, I'll find it here, it's just a big blank space. This is for either after almost every other chapter, which could have made this book a lot shorter. Probably 230 something. I'm not gonna like be like, oh, it's gonna be like almost 100. No, it's like 230 something. But it had to have been like in the middle of like season 3, maybe like tail end of season 3, because again, there's so much shoved in my face that, number one, I gotta tell you, because all of this is just retelling you probably what's happened. And if this is for the fans, you took out all the good shit that the fans would have liked. How Scott was changed, how Styles figured this out, meeting Derek, trying to control the werewolf instinct, what the alpha even looks like. Really, we get a possible shape of a werewolf. Possible shape. There's also in here that there will be a trigger warning at the beginning of this, that there is grooming, grooming, abuse, and I guess violence. But this one here I probably have to put up because it's very clearly like and it does a really good job at some of the stuff that it's talking about, but it's also one of those things where it's like, I don't know this character. Why are you telling me his backstory when I don't even hardly know him? I felt bad for him because I'm getting told about his backstory when I don't even know the fucker. So, anyway, I'm going to read from a script. This is On Fire, a Teen Wolf novel. A mountain lion has been shot that has been lurking around Beacon Hills High School. The poor thing is killed as Allison watches before getting into the car. Scott has been turned into a werewolf weeks before this by some alpha werewolf we don't know the name of, as the hunter Chris Argent had shot him his first day after changing. Caught up good, because why were we not getting this backstory?
Disappointed!
The two had snuck out to celebrate her 17th birthday, and they even skipped this parent-teacher conference. Scott is driven home and is waiting for a lecture, but it never comes, so Mom is pissed. He has a dream of the forest fire with a voice telling him to kill. More lore we don't get backstory on. Derek Hale, the beta of this story, lost his family minus his sister and uncle 6 years prior to a fire. He's like 20-something by this point, and he's back to Beacon Hill to find the person who killed his sister, Lauren. You got that? You got that? Would you have liked the backstory for that one? Would you have liked to have read that? Yeah, no, go fuck yourself. Anyway, the Alpha Wolf has been telling Scott to kill with him for some time, and it's only a matter of time before he does. Why, you may ask?
Nobody cares! Nobody!
Anyway, they're plain and simple. Kill the Alpha.
Thank you, Catherine Obvious.
Scott wakes up in the forest as we get more lore. Apparently him and his friend Styles found Lauren, who was able to shift because her and Derek were born werewolves, and take this medallion off of her, which turns her back to a regular, just dead girl. So I ask once more, why are we not getting the backstory on this? Like at all. Anyway, Scott sees a wolf before it leaves, and we cut to school. He tells Styles about the dream before Allison walks up to him and tells him about Lydia's missing boyfriend, Jackson. He believes he could have killed him, but wouldn't you have been covered in blood? And wouldn't the Alpha be taunting you? And also, wouldn't you have smelled the blood? Anyway, Jackson is adopted, and a detective, Hunter Graham, knows this, telling him to give him a call. His adopted parents are out to Paris and haven't been told that their son is missing. Why? Hunter also writes that he knows more about his bio parents, and everyone at the table assumes that he went to talk to Hunter. Lydia manages to track his phone to a motel, but the motel says that no one by either name or description has been there. So Jackson is in the dude's trunk. R.I.P., my man. I hardly knew you, besides Scott saying that he was an ass. Take that as you will. We really don't see much about what Jackson is, besides just a scared kid who wants to know more about his parents. Lydia decides to stay at Jackson's to see if he'll return, while Styles says he'll get Scott a free chance to check the motel, leaving Scott and Allison to venture off. And Styles can't come. Why? No, really. Lydia can check his location throughout the day. I don't know why she doesn't come either. Styles is essentially there to play, hey, I'm going to say that you aren't at lacrosse for XYZ reason. That's why he's there. But then again, why can't Lydia come? Your guess is as good as mine. So, I'm going to talk about Wednesday Addams' book. That is season 1 of the whole thing. I read it. It took out a lot of stuff with Enid and Wednesday being friends, especially the scene where they had the split room. There's a part where Wednesday's like, I'm kind of glad that I have Enid on my side, and I'm saying, really? It tells the whole story, and it isn't confusing, but it definitely takes out a lot of character here. In On Fire, it takes out character, plot, just any description of anything, really. And you're just assuming, because either you are a fan of the show, and if you're a confused person like me, yeah, you're not gonna be caught up on everything. And now, mind you, I already knew Teen Wolf, Scott was changed by an Alpha Wolf. I didn't know much else besides that. I still have not watched the show. And I don't have to know that they took a lot of stuff out of here. The difference between Wednesday and the Teen Wolf book is that someone clearly watched the Wednesday show, and someone was told about the On Fire Teen Wolf show, and told what happened, or read online like a snippet synopsis of the show, or at least like watched through a bit of the show and was able to write down as everything went. I get this is supposed to be fan made or for the fans, But as a fan, I would be disappointed that we're not getting the juicy details. We're not getting the exciting portions of this show that we should have already been getting. But again, I reiterate, this feels like it should have been book 3 out of the multiple other books that were coming out. Mind you, I know there's comics. Those are like online though, or they're super hard to find, so I didn't try. Derek gives us some more backstory that Kate, who is a part of the Argent family, werewolf hunters, nearly killed him via machine gun.
What?
He escapes and is told that the Argents never hurt Lauren, but Big X to doubt. He talks about how the Alpha is trying to get Scott to join him, and that if it does happen, it'll be hard to kill him. So teach him. I don't understand either. Also, Allison is an Argent, but she doesn't know anything about the werewolves or killing them. I can see in a sense why, since her dad probably doesn't want her around them or in danger, but it's also, hey, we got 3 werewolves around here. You may want to start at least trying to teach her how to shoot or protect herself in some capacity, regardless of werewolves or not. Allison and Scott arrive at the motel, which is in a shitty part of town, to which Lydia calls them, telling them how Jackson's phone has been moving all around town before losing the cell to bad reception. When they get set to go inside, a woman screams and a man has died. Scott believes maybe he saw the Alpha, but is unsure since all they can figure out is that there was a man standing outside the window. The guy told him to fuck off and he just died. Sadly, no one there has seen Jackson and they leave. Lydia is called and tells him Jackson is now at the Beacon Hills Preserve. Scott is against them going, but Lydia wants to go. Allison helps him out in his final decision by kissing him, and both his heads say, "To the preserve!" Oh, and Lydia doesn't go, "Then why are you saying anything?" Anyway, Stiles is asked to go to the hospital to check on the guy who has died. He had a heart attack. He's fine, maybe. Derek pops out from behind and begins asking where Scott is and sees the tracking app Stiles was using and heads to the preserve with him. Allison and Scott walk through the forest and hear things, but not enough to continue on as Allison and Scott make out. Jackson is meeting Hunter Graham in the woods as planned and was supposed to meet him at the hotel, but the plan fell through, so here we are in the middle of the woods. You see, Hunter knows his dad. Well, his dad knows his dad, and Hunter is a detective, able to find where he is, and Jackson looks a lot like his dad. Both his parents were young when they had him and chose a closed adoption. But the other issue Jackson is having is Scott. Scott suddenly became faster at lacrosse and even believes him to be on drugs, getting nearly choked out because of it, with the scars to prove it thanks to Derek.
John's getting upset!
Damn book, way to show and don't tell. Past tense even. Why the hell was this book even made? Again, wouldn't it have been so much more interesting to see that he's going up to Scott going, "You're on drugs. How are you better than me? How are you better than me?" And then Derek choked the shit out of him. Yeah, me too. I wish we got that, but priorities, I guess. But their conversation is interrupted by the snapping of twigs. Allison and Scott stop as a wolf passes by, then the smell of fire. Scott believes it's Jackson as Stiles calls and gives them the rundown. The guy saw something but doesn't know what or who before passing out. Stiles and Derek head over to the forest as Jackson runs away from Hunter and sends Lydia a text message leaning against the tree. It was complicated looking for someone he couldn't stand. He knew Allison wasn't all fond of Jackson either. She had really stood up to him at the bowling alley when he kept dissing Scott's lack of skill. Then she told me to picture her naked, like I'm doing right now.
Go to horny jail.
But it gets very exciting. You see, on their way back, the moon illuminates them and Scott begins to change. But this excitement doesn't last long, and they get back to the car. Wow, book's so cool. I'm so excited that I grabbed this and decided to read it. Oh my god, wow, so cool. Anyway, as you can see, I'm so happy to have some excitement here, and now it's gone. And, I just live for the thrill, of books like this and edging me. Why? Jackson continues to run in the woods, finding an injured bird before being confronted by a blonde girl, Cassie. It turns out to be a vulture, a young one at that, and they set it free. Jackson wonders if he knows her, but she doesn't go to Beacon Hill, so probably not. The two begin heading to the parking lot, as Scott and Allison finally make it to the parking lot themselves, but sadly, Allison lost her keys and need to go back. Cassie kisses Jackson. He doesn't push her away or stop her, and now he's a douche. He's pretty much cheating, but also, I don't know why she did it either. After they get to the car, Cassie disappears as Hunter Graham appears from the bushes, telling Jackson to give him his phone via gunpoint. Derek and Stiles arrive and see Allison's car as he sensed multiple fires and the Alpha, but Scott didn't, so he stole her keys. How stupid are you? I also just realized they never found the car keys. What the hell? She took her time getting ready. She always made boys wait, even gay ones, and came out looking, she hoped, cool, collected, and not like some desperate girlfriend going in search for her AWOL boyfriend on what could have been their second night of hookup bliss.
Who the starts a conversation like that? I just sat down.
Damon and Danny, two of Jackson's friends, come over to Lydia's and ask where he is. She assumes he's at his house, and they drive on by and he's not there. They hear the garage door open and Lydia heads down to yell at him, but is met with two masked men and a gun to her head. In reality, there is nothing of hers in the door, except, oh yes, she showed them the pack of glow-in-the-dark condoms she had purchased Jackson for last Valentine's Day. He had refused to use them. Tonight he would. She would make sure of that. This book is getting weirdly sexual. I'm not okay with it. I'm not a party participating in this. I don't want to help. Backstory. Not like we have a fire, an alpha wolf, someone's keys are missing, a woman's being held at gunpoint, including two of the other guys. Yeah, that's what we need. Backstory. 16-year-old Derek used to swim and was trained to be on the hierarchy of his pack. During this time, however, he gets a new lifeguard, a woman no less, who he falls head over heels for. Kate Argent. You can see where this is going. He looked through the window at his sister. Did I say Lauren half the time? It's Laura. He looked through the window at his sister. Laura was sitting in a maroon pleather booth, reading a book. A Diet Coke and a very rare hamburger were placed before her. Brother and sister had started eating occasionally at the Beacon Burger before they went home after school. It helped cut down on the traffic in the kitchen as their mom began preparations for Wolf Moon.
What?
Brother and sister? Is this third person? What the hell happened here? She made a sound. Don't worry, I can barely hear myself in this din. Still, she leaned towards him, grinning and peering up at him through her lashes. So, she came on to you like a big slut? Yeah, that's it. That's it, Laura. Not a groomer. A slut. That's it. During this time, we see Scott at the same diner as Laura and Derek, as we see a nice family setting. Scott's mom and dad are fighting as Scott begins having a panic attack and is belittled by his dad for not being man enough.
What a big happy family we got here.
Yes, son, be like the rest of those who had asthma and die. I don't know why this is here, considering I thought his dad was either dead or left, so again, why is this here? Scott and Allison suddenly fall down an incline and nearly fall to their doom, but make it out alright. Allison's phone lands in some wolfsbane, and Scott can't grab it, but Allison can. He lies, saying he's injured himself. Again, why not tell her the truth? She doesn't know about the hunter stuff, and having someone on your side is a great idea. Scott sends a few messages to Styles about where they are, and we cut back to 6 years ago again with Derek and Kate. No, really. Who cares? Give us Scott shifting. Give us the Alpha Wolf. Give us the juicy stuff. Derek is asked to come to Kate's place for, and alcohol.
Cool! Alright!
But we see her side of things, and she's done this to many other werewolves, using her looks to get them right where she wants them before going in for the kill. And yes, leading up to all of this is very uncomfortable, which is done very well, especially in these types of relationships that still happen. And especially because it's not taken seriously, because it's a woman doing this instead of a man. We cut back to Lydia, who's tied up to a chair, as another masked assailant begins taking the valuables. Damon and Danny are hiding, ready to strike as Lydia makes up a good story to get herself free, lying about the security cameras. She lures them to Jackson's room to show them the security cameras, as Jackson wakes up on Cassie's lap. But not only that, but Hunter Graham is Cassie's boyfriend Bailey. Cassie is trying really hard to keep Jackson quiet, as they are in cahoots with the guy stealing from the house and even plan to kill him. Cassie is going to help him, if we can even believe that, as Bailey wants them to shut down what Lydia is doing, only to suddenly shout into the phone, "Oh, and we're back to 6 years ago."
Oh no, I've gone cross-eyed.
Derek and Kate begin making out, but because of the pot roast sandwiches she had tampered with, he gets sick in the bathroom. He apologizes and leaves, but she asks to do this again tomorrow before exchanging numbers. He makes it to town before turning back and realizes she had some of the sandwich too and worries that she's sick. He makes it over and is introduced back into her house to stay the night. Damon and Danny attack as the three make it to the car and drive to the preserve, of course calling 911. The smartest thing any of these dumbasses have ever done. We cut back to Jackson, who is told to jump from the moving van, but that doesn't work well as Cassie is shot by Bailey. He crashes the car and it catches fire. Cassie and Jackson get out of the van, but Cassie is severely injured and wants to save Bailey, but is quickly losing blood and no 911 call. Jackson is also still handcuffed as he realizes they made a U-turn back to the preserved. How convenient. And would you believe it? We go back 6 years ago with Derek!
Am I dead yet?
Derek and Kate's relationship is going great. He even gave her a ring. Not that sort of thing, but still a nice ring, I guess. He asks Laura if his dad would change her, and she says no since it's way too soon. And he may not even be that serious about her. He circles back to Kate's apartment after forgetting his backpack, and she sees him leaving, thinking her cover's been blown. She follows him to his house as the plan is now set in motion. The house is to be burned like it was an electrical fire. How Derek finds out it was actually Kate who started this fire will boggle you. It's because he finds the ring in the rubble.
Cheers, I'll drink to that, bro.
We are then thrown to the present as Derek leaves Style to find the Alpha as he gets Scott's message. Scott realizes that Alpha is overhead as the smoke begins smothering them. A burning tree falls towards them as Scott pushes Allison away, starting to shift as he resists the Alpha's call. They burn the wolfbane bushes, but Allison falters, consuming too much smoke. Allison is helped out and is told to run for help as Scott howls, alerting both Stiles and Derek. They find a wolfed out Scott as he's trapped thanks to the bushes and the type of wood. Okay, I don't know why the tree thing. I get the wolf's bane, but I don't get the tree stuff. Okay, whatever. Stiles tries to call 911 as Derek tries to steal his phone, only to be pushed off the cliff accidentally and nearly dies by the rocks. Of course, Scott sees and tries to kill him, but Derek wolfs out. They fight a bit as Stiles calls 911. Allison makes it out of the forest thanks to a wolf. Wonder who that could be. Her aunt picks her up with 1,000,001 questions. The van that Bailey was in explodes, and it's assumed Cassie went out with it as Jackson trudges along, seeing Danny's car before passing out. Derek and Scott fight for a bit as he reminds Scott about Allison. He comes to and they push the burning tree away as they climb up the cliff. As Derek shifts fully, he cuts Scott's wrist and is shown everything about his past. I don't know why either. Everyone is okay, minus Bailey and Cassie. Good. The thieves are caught. Allison and Scott kiss. Even Kate and Derek see one another as he's still pissed. I'd say he has every right to. And ends with a wolf howling, noting this is just the beginning and more are on the way. What a load. What a load of shit. I reiterate that there is so much stuff taken out of this. Danny and Damon seem to be more prevalent probably in the earlier stuff. I don't know. There are talks of Derek and Scott not really getting along. Scott takes time to be yeah, I don't really trust this dude. And I will say this now, the stuff with Laura. She was murdered? How Scott and Stiles found her? I just don't get it. I don't know why. There's so much stuff taken out of here that should have been very prevalent in this whole thing, and it's not. So it leaves me with more questions. Again, I'm still so convinced that this was supposed to be the third book out of a multitude of them. I already knew a lot of people either did not like this book or it was very clearly for the fans. If I was a fan of this, I would be extremely disappointed. I would be practically begging MTV here, why you decided to do it like this. Again, I also haven't looked into the graphic novel. I know it's only online, which I've seen, but also I don't care enough to look into it. So, besides that, what's next on the radar here? Besides the ginormous stack of Monster High here, I actually wanted to go for a couple shorter books. And one of them happens to be Gnome Cave by the angry video game nerd, James Rolfe. I've heard either some good things or it's more so people want to know what's going to happen. This is a short little novella. But then I also have The Haunting of Claudstein House by Selena Myers. Mind you as well, I know she has another book coming out. This is another one that's a novella. It's a shorter one. Both of them are pretty short. They should be able to be ready and good to go again in 7 months. I'm very surprised that I even got this done after my my wolf review. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Maybe you'll check out the rest of my channel. I do movie reviews, I do book reviews. Come see whichever one is coming up next. I got a multitude of other stuff that I'm probably going to be reviewing sometime in the future. But anyway, I'll catch you on the flip side. Bye bye.